Until Kyler Murray comes back and there's an infusion of talent on this roster in 2024, the Arizona Cardinals are showing proof of concept.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Still kind of glowing after the win from Sunday. And it's not a delusion of excitement. It's not a delusion of the situation at hand. It's understanding that there's a shift happening. It's understanding that this is different. And me, fans, and everything in between of the Arizona Cardinals can bask in that for the entire 2023 season, regardless of win-loss record at the end. I've talked a lot this offseason, and it's kind of apropos here in a tangential kind of way. I've talked a lot about how top-tier rookies can come in and look like stars in the making right away. For everydayers, you've heard me say that a lot. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, first off, thank you. And second of all, you'll hear me say it a lot. The star power can be shown with immediacy at times. Other times it takes young players to grow, have the game slow down for them, and then thrive later. But what we're seeing with Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing, and Nick Rallis is immediacy. Different. Is this going to translate into Super Bowls? No idea. Is this going to translate into playoffs in the next 2 years? No idea. But it is without a shadow of a doubt that this is a different Arizona Cardinals organization. And that is what has me smiling today. The restrictor plate has been removed. That's another one I like to use. Now all there is are opportunities. Excitement. Excitement of the unknown. Things that we haven't really experienced here in the desert, at least over the last 10 years or so. Kind of in line with one specific person being on the payroll. Kyler Murray looks happier than he ever has. I'll talk about that in the second segment. Why may that be? And then what's the role for Joshua Dobbs moving forward? And it's not going to be exactly the segment you think it's going to be. I'm excited to talk about that as well. What does proof of concept mean? Pretty much we're watching what the scout team is on the practice squad for opposing teams that teams play on Sundays. We're watching the blueprint for what will be the future of this team on offense and on defense. So until Kyler Murray comes back, we're seeing the proof of concept of what this offense could look like, will look like. Work out the tweaks. And through the first 3 weeks, and week one was gross, but Joshua Dobbs hadn't, he'd been with the team for a couple weeks. It doesn't matter, and I can't believe I continue to say this, but it's true in my humblest of opinions. It doesn't matter what the score is at the end of the game this year. The Cardinals won this past Sunday or lost. With how that offense looked, that's a win. Now, sure, closing out games massively. Like I get I get the point that it's better to win than to lose. Like I'm conscious of that and cognizant even. But this year, it's just about shedding the old skin and putting together an offensive game plan that's adaptable, that's balanced, that's cohesive, that doesn't have multiple timeouts and unnecessary times, that doesn't have false starts in unnecessary times. This offense was a unit of 11 players, led by a quarterback who had never started more than, 2 games in his career? 3? Just got his first win as a starting quarterback. That's proof of concept. And on defense, it's a little bit different on defense because defense is a lot more reactionary and trusting your fellow teammates that are standing alongside you because you're reacting to a play being run, obviously. But the tenants are showing proof of concept with Nick Rallis' scheme and Jonathan Gannon, obviously even though Nick Rallis has control of the defense, Jonathan Gannon's his defense too. Swarming, hard-hitting, opportunistic where able to be, and not stepping down from any opponent up until this point. And sure, they haven't played Patrick Mahomes. They haven't played Justin Herbert. Cowboys look pretty good in week 1 and week 2. Proof of concept. And there's going to be a lot to discuss as we go into, going to Santa Clara on Sunday, playing the 49ers. Until Kyler Murray is healthy, and until they get some more talent on this roster, and that's not taking away the roster now at all, but this isn't a winning roster currently. It just isn't. I mean, it's a 2-year rebuild. The proof of concept, the skeleton, the stencil set in place for what this offense and defense and overall cohesion of a team looks like is masterclass is thrown around a lot because they're not 3-0. They're not blowing teams out. They're not, it is exactly what a new regime with proper goals and proper implementation of coaching shows. It shows. And that gets me more giddy than anything. So I was talking to my dad after the game on Sunday. I called him and I'm like, through the 2021, we're 7-0, 10-2, and then injuries or whatever you wanted to blame the downfall on. That was the most fun I've had watching a Cardinals game. I think since taking over this taking over this podcast in 2017. And it's not sure. The Hail Murray was incredible. And sure, week 1 in 2021 was great, where Chandler Jones had 5.5 sacks and the Cardinals, they took care of business. But I talked throughout 2021, got ridiculed, and I don't say, do me a favor. Don't be like everybody else and say, well, this is a hot I'm going to get crap for saying this. Don't say that. Just say what you think. I talked all 2021 about, that was just a little, I talked 2021 about Cliff Kingsbury, same mistakes. Doesn't matter. Oh, they're 7-0. That's great. They're still making the same mistakes. Bad timeouts, bad penalties, bad clock management. Didn't matter. All the rest was fugazi. All the rest was fairy dust. It hath no matter. There you go, Matthew McConaughey. It didn't matter. 2021, week 1. Chandler Jones strip sack, first or second series. I don't know. I haven't watched the game in a while. First or second series, strip sack, short field for the Cardinals. One play, they get down inside the 10, false start, timeout, incomplete pass, field goal. Same thing, doesn't matter. The defense set the Cardinals offense up for so much more success than they actually had in 2021. And that's on the past regime. This is different. This is you never realize how dysfunctional you're in when you're in a dysfunctional situation until you're not in that situation anymore. That. Sunday against the Cowboys was devoid. Let me say that again. Sunday against the Cowboys was a situation devoid of dysfunction. And that's why it was the most fun I've had watching an Arizona Cardinals game since taking over this podcast in 2017. Another person, a little bit more important to the organization than me, Kyler Murray, is showing and flashing smiles on the sidelines, of which we haven't seen since he was drafted. Wasn't really a smile when he was drafted. What does that mean? What does it mean? I'll hit it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Nutrafol. Okay. I love Nutrafol. Okay. I wear a hat for a reason. I think it's probably the Cardinals' fault. I'm going to blame it on Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury that my hairline is running away from my nose. You don't have to choose between better hair health and your health. Better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Their hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting root causes of thinning, such as stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole body health. So take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Okay. Everydayers, you may be able to sense a little extra pep in my step, as it were. I hate that. I hate that phrase, but it makes sense now. Different isn't always good. Different doesn't always mean a step forward. The immediate impact and difference that's been made on this organization is obvious. Is it, so this is the question. Is it possible that this is just like, I call it the Nate McMillan effect. Okay, so go with me here. I know that I go to basketball references. Basketball is my first love. Love it still to this day. The Nate McMillan effect is Nate McMillan is one of the best interim head coaches in the history of professional basketball. He gets extensions. They do well for a year, and then it kind of falls off a cliff. So the Nate McMillan effect is a new coach comes in after another one gets fired. Early on, it's a lot of times it's just really good right away. People are energized. People are ready to roll. And if it's mid-season, it's different than at the end of a season. But could the Nate McMillan effect be in play here? Probably not. Because it's been such an extensive and pseudo-emotional offseason. A lot of stuff with Michael Bidwell and some not-so-great things that he's done. Kyler Murray injury. Everything in between. I think that this is it. Now, it's easier when there's no pressure. Sure. Jonathan Gannon is trying to win every game. So there's pressure on him to perform by himself. I don't think that the ceiling for the Cardinals to win games this year isn't very high. And I will say one thing before moving on to K1 is it's wild how quickly, through 3 games, it seems to be a massive is, come on, I slapped myself in the face for saying massive. There is a noticeable gap between the Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, and the Cardinals in Texas. 1 game difference in the loss column. And I tweeted this out. At this point, I'd rather be the Bears, who have the Panthers pick for trading back in last year's draft. I'd rather have the Bears and the Panthers pick than the Cardinals and the Texans pick right now. 2 teams look very well coached. One team doesn't look well coached in Matt Eberflus in Chicago. And they made a huge mistake by drafting Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. Massive mistake. He's already hurt. CJ Stroud looks like an absolute baller. Like, I don't understand why there was even a contest on who the best quarterback coming out of the draft would be. Anthony Richardson has a chance. I mean, he's got probably the highest ceiling, but CJ Stroud has the highest floor. I don't get it. Anyways, Kyler Murray on the sidelines. I mean, there's a video that he posted of himself on Twitter. It's jubilation. It's effortless jubilation from a very, very introverted person for the most part. And he spread his wings this offseason. I don't know if it was a direct correlative between Cliff being gone and him being a better, like, not better person, him being a more open and smiling person in public. I don't know. Honestly, I don't. And I'm not here to. It's an interesting coincidence. I've never seen Kyler Murray smile like he did after that win against Dallas, of which he had zero impact on the actual field between the lines. That shows massive, massive introspection into how he feels about being an Arizona Cardinal and how they feel about having him. Like, and this isn't jumping to conclusions. This isn't like fan theory. That's dumb. He was like held hostage since being drafted. Jubilation. And it doesn't matter that it was the Cowboys. Kyler's got the Cowboys number. I think they've won 8 of their last 9 games against the Cowboys. Something random like that. Doesn't matter if it was the Cowboys, grew up in Texas. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they were massive under. None of that matters. For a player who's been so polarizing for some reason. I'm on the Kyler Murray side of the aisle. Kyler Murray won despite Cliff Kingsbury. Kyler Murray did not win because of Cliff Kingsbury. And now seeing Kyler in a, I don't know, ensemble role with one of the best wins the Cardinals have had in 2 years, and him loving it, that shows massive growth. And maybe that's been him all the time, and now he feels comfortable to do it. I don't know. Again, these aren't like, another thing that I'm going to discuss a lot every day is, bear with me, but I will have to disclaim this a lot because I don't want people to think that I'm just riding this gravy train of, oh, the Cardinals are going to win the Super Bowl in 2024 because of this. No. This is the thing that I've talked about a lot, and I'll continue to. Little flashbulb memories of cohesion and happiness and functionality and things like that. That's what the 2023 season's about. That's what it's about. So the flashbulb memories from Sunday, Kazir White's interception, Zaven Collins sack, Rondale Moore rushing touchdown, Joshua Dobbs, the RPO in the first series where he took it down the sideline for 40 plus yards, and then Kyler Murray smiling like, I don't know, whatever that was. Those are the memories that are going to be formulated into the new foundation of the Arizona Cardinals 2.0. That's why it's so important. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. At some point, Kyler Murray is going to come back, and at some point, Joshua Dobbs won't be starting quarterback anymore. There's a chance, a good chance, just from the history of everything, that Joshua Dobbs may regress a little bit back to the mean. What is his role going to be for the future of this team? It's a fun thing to discuss. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Okay. I love FanDuel. And scene. I have to say more. Swing into the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, New customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into the action. And the app is so easy to use, man. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. This is fun. This is fun. I like talking theory. We can go over DVOA if you want. We can go over PFF grades if you want. I like going over eye test grades. I like going over eye test, feeling grades. I don't need to see what Paris Johnson Jr.'s Pro Football Focus grade was. I think it was in the 50s, low 50s. Again, Hjalti Froholt has been the highest rated offensive lineman for the Cardinals the last 2 weeks, I believe. And Joshua Dobbs has been I was wrong. I mean, I'm about Clayton Tune. It's obvious. I can be wrong. I'm allowed to be wrong. I'd rather have a stance, say it, and then when I'm wrong, don't say it, as opposed to just waffle. Be like, well, we'll see what happens, guys. Everybody go out and get there and do your thing. Stupid. Joshua Dobbs has been great. He's been great. It's kind of unbelievable. Like, he was fine in Tennessee. He was a 4th-round pick. Like, he was fine. He was fine. There were 2 things that I've seen from Joshua Dobbs that make me a believer, at least until Kyler Murray comes back. 1, the Kyle Brandt angry run for a touchdown against the Giants last week or 2 weeks ago. We just ran over safety. I think it was Xavier McKinney. I think he just ran somebody over for a touchdown. That showed something to me. And then it is another running play, but it's not really about that. The RPO where he saw that hole, I mean, that ball was in the running back's hands, and he's like, nope. He's scared. He shook every single person in State Farm Stadium and watching the game out of their shoes. And that was housed. I mean, if that was Kyler Murray, it could have been a touchdown. Not the fastest dude, Joshua Dobbs, but he's not slow either. I mean, he's not Ben Roethlisberger. That was it. So what that showed me, the first one, running over somebody, that's a statement. Yeah, he's bigger than a lot of DBs. Okay. But I mean, you could see quarterbacks, try and spin, sidestep, slide 5 yards early to not take the hit. He ran over somebody to get in the end zone. Shows something. And then having the understanding of the offense to the hair split of knowing to tuck that ball and run it, just smart football. Having control over the offense. And yes, the run game has been exquisite. It's been excellent. It's been otherworldly, which opens up Pandora's box for everything else. The Cardinals can't run the ball. It's going to be a lot more difficult to have Joshua Dobbs throw the ball 45 times a game. If you can run the ball, any quarterback will be elevated. And this is kind of, I'll use the word again, tangentially correlated to what's happening in San Francisco with Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, okay? Kyle Shanahan's got this secret sauce system that pretty much any quarterback can run. I mean, Nick Mullen was the talk of the fantasy football town a couple years ago. Mullins, sorry. Joshua Dobbs is just doing it with Drew Petzing. And I know, already through Twitter, well, Nick Rawls and Drew Petzing won't be here for long. They will be taking head coaching jobs elsewhere. Sometimes being a head coach isn't all it's cracked up to be. Sure, you get a pay bump. And there's one thing that I've never really understood, and I'll get to Joshua Dobbs here in a second, I promise. Pay coordinators like head coaches to keep them. Doesn't go against the cap. If this is the first time since Michael Bidwell's taken over that he's got a 1-2-3 punch that's working, pay him like head coaches. Just do it. Break the mold. Well, you can't do that. Why not? Maybe try something radically different, because everything that's happened up until this point has been an abject failure. Anyways, Drew Petzing's offense that Joshua Dobbs was knew from being in Cleveland last year, like, they're showing that proof of concept for Kyler Murray to learn from. So how important is Josh Dobbs for the Cardinals in the future? This is kind of the question. So is he going to get a starting quarterback job somewhere else? Probably not. So what you'll probably do is Kyler Murray comes back, you give Josh Dobbs a 2-year deal, and he's the backup. Because the most important thing for an offensive scheme set up like this to work is having two quarterbacks that can run it exactly the same way. One, obviously elevated, you'd think, with Kyler Murray, and the other one comes in Joshua Dobbs and can do the same thing. Not at the same level, but knows it like the back of his hand. And a guy so this is a perfect example. So last year and the year before with Colt McCoy, Kyler Murray goes down. It's a completely different offense with Colt McCoy. Completely different play calls, whatever. I know Cliff Kingsbury didn't really have the bandwidth between the ears to be able to, compress that information and actually bear fruits, even though Colt McCoy did win a couple of important games with Kyler Murray out over the last 2 years. This is the same offense. Sure, you'll highlight different plays. You maybe run the ball more if Joshua Dobbs is under center or in shotgun than if you were Kyler Murray. But having Joshua Dobbs he's already an Arizona Cardinal. You can tell, this is just different. It's welcoming. It's a different ecosystem. It's just different. So you bring Joshua Dobbs in, give him a 2-year deal. He's already earned a backup role. I mean, you could already tell. The dude is an Arizona Cardinal. People love him. This is not something I'm used to. So what's his future with the team? He'll have paycheck signed by the Arizona Cardinals in some form or fashion. And that puts the Cardinals in a very good spot if Kyler Murray were to get hurt again. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus joins me tomorrow. Friend of the show. It's going to be fun. You don't want to miss it. I'll talk to you then.